Alrighty then. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Matthew Baker of Beautiful New York Tours. One thing I love telling people when they come to New York for the first time is you know this city better than you think you do because you've seen it in the movies. And while that is true, it was not always true. Back in the golden age of Hollywood, when people like, James Cagney and Humphrey Bogart were ruling the screen, every Hollywood studio had a standard New York City street scene set on its back lot. Many of them still do, but their use is no longer as exclusive as it once was. There was a time when every single image that was set in New York was shot in California. That started to change after World War II, and then the change started to grow until finally, in the late 60s, Mayor John Lindsay provided the Mayor's Office of Film, Theater, and Broadcasting, which helped filmmakers streamline the process of shooting footage on location in New York. It happened in New York. The year is 1967, and the place is Junior High School 99 at the corner of First Avenue and 100th Street in East Harlem. The movie version of Belle Kaufman's autobiographical novel Up the Down Staircase is just about to be released. The first movie shot under the auspices of the new mayor's office. The exterior scenes of Calvin Coolidge High School in the story are shot here on East 100th Street, and the interiors at a high school at West 59th. Sandy Dennis, fresh off the success of her amazing Academy Award-winning performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, chooses the adaptation of Belle Kaufman's book as her first movie to follow that up. It is the story of a very young, idealistic schoolteacher on her first job out of graduate school. She finds herself out of her comfort zone and out of her depth. She is soft-spoken, idealistic, and very, very white. And here she is in East Harlem with often troubled, rebellious, uncaring kids, many of whom come from very impoverished homes, and virtually all of whom are from various ethnicities that make New York such a glorious rainbow. But none of that seems glorious to her at the time, not because of any deep-seated prejudices on her part, but simply because she isn't used to it and does not know how to handle the differences. Worse, though, she does not know how to handle the bureaucracy of the education business. Various rules and regulations that seem to exist for their own sake, rather than for the sake of actually improving anybody's education. Here is a teacher who is there because she loves to teach, and she finds herself surrounded by teachers who are there because it's a job. Now, the students are wonderfully played by mostly non-professional actors, a good number of whom were themselves high school students. I think the oldest one was a 20-year-old college student. And there weren't very many other big names in the cast, although it is worth noting that one of the school secretaries is played by a young Jean Stapleton, about 4 years before she would go on to become Edith Bunker in All in the Family. A New York City story of its own kind, though that, of course, set in Queens rather than Upper Manhattan. What Up the Down Staircase started was an entire generation of authentic images of New York City on film. What had begun with The Naked City in 1948 and then continued through various scenes here and there in movies in the 50s, the audiences of the 60s expected and demanded gritty realism on a level that their parents, who had grown up with Busby Berkeley, did not. Entire books have been written about the difficulties Blake Edwards had shooting just the opening scene in Breakfast at Tiffany's at the beginning of the decade. So by the time the decade was nearing its end, having the United States' very first official film commission to help Robert Mulligan make Up the Down Staircase happen was a tremendous milestone, not just in municipal economy history, but in the history of cinema as well. Many of the locations of both the book and the movie still stand, and you can see them when it is safe to do so. Please check me out at Beautiful New York Tours. You can search Beautiful New York Tours on Facebook or email me at baker.tours@yahoo.com. Again, that is baker.tours@yahoo. Thank you very much.